We met in 1998, I think it was, playing volleyball. And I was a different person back then. I was a little bit of a show-off. When Sylvia saw me play and the serve came over and it was in, and I was like, no, I think it's out. She looked at me and said, what an idiot.
I don't like him.
I don't like him. So that started a whirlwind romance. I have no idea, but we just started, talking and hanging out, playing volleyball and wallyball and different things, and eventually something happened.
Over the Hill Orchards is located halfway between Regina and Lumsden. We're situated on the Qu'Appelle Valley.
Our season is open Mother's Day to Thanksgiving. We grow 13 different kinds of fruit, make 13 different kinds of wine, host chef suppers with local chefs, have picnics out here, a you-pick flower operation, and it's a great place for people to come out and see the valley. We have a great view of the Qu'Appelle Valley.
Our capacity here is 50 people. It's a relatively small dining room. We also have an extra new patio, which seats an extra additional 30 people. And then our larger patio space out front holds roughly 50 people.
We also offer a variety of products that we make right here in our winery, from jams and syrups to juice, wines, of course. In the last few years, we've kind of pivoted towards more ecotourism. So we want people to come out to the orchard and not only enjoy our products, but enjoy the experience of being out in the wild and see the view and play with our cats and stuff like that. Stuff like that. Oh yeah, boy.
We offer a selection of different unique experiences at the orchard. Some of the more popular and fun ones are a picnic in the orchard, a you-pick flower operation, wine samplers, ladies groups, stagettes, all kinds of fun things that people can do out here. Picnic in the Orchard was created due to COVID. People needed to reconnect with nature and wanted an experience where they could come out and enjoy a bottle of wine and a cheese platter overlooking the valley while the cats come and entertain them.
The Flowers in the Orchard program was just brand new. You can come here and you can pick your bouquet. You get a bouquet plus a glass of wine. So it's just nice to walk around with all these flowers, and all the flowers are grown not in the ground, but they're grown in containers. They're grown in grow bags, and they're up off the ground. So people don't have to bend down, get on their knees to cut. We are growing so many different kinds of flowers. I'm a big lily guy, so I have probably 25 different varieties of lilies, and unique lilies that you can't grow in Saskatchewan because they're not hardy. When you drive into our property, you go up a very steep hill, and it honestly is the reason why we're called Over the Hill Orchards. Once you park, you see the valley, the green hills in the spring, and the trees in the coulees. The valley is the reason why we bought this place. When we were looking to move out of the city, we came here and we were just blown away by the natural beauty. It's just a different experience because you can have the great wine, the great food. Here you have the great view and being outside. So it's quite a variety.
We started the business 25 years ago, but it takes about 5 to 6 years for fruit trees to grow to the point where they actually start producing fruit. So we both kept our jobs in the cities till about 2008. At that point, we were able to leave our city jobs and focus on this full time.
When I had my house in Regina, Sylvia moved in with me, and in the backyard I had a whole bunch of little fruit trees and lilies and all that, and I would go into local garden centers and I'd just be amazed by all the fruit that was there. And I was like, why aren't people growing? They got apricots, they got apples, why aren't there orchards? So then when we moved out to this location here, it was in my brain to sort of like, geez, I wonder if we could grow things out here and actually do an orchard.
I think Dean's question was, why not? Why can't we do this?
Now I know why we can't, but we still overcome it. The university in Saskatoon, they created a new sour cherry for the prairies. So Sylvia and I went up to Saskatoon and we tried the cherries, and Sylvia turned to me and she said, Dean, we have to grow these. And I went, awesome. So we started with the cherries and eventually got to 3,000 cherry trees, and then added apples, apricots, plums, grapes, haskap, strawberries, raspberries, all those different kinds of fruits.
We started with a little church basement and then progressed to a little small store in the town of Lumsden.
And then in 2013, we built this building, and it was a processing plant at that point because we were just going to basically do a lot of processing to sell our products everywhere. And then we started winemaking a year later. And so it took about a year to do that. And after that, then we were a winery.
We've divided up the company basically with the restaurant compared to the orchard as the other part of our business. Dean handles 90% of the things that are outside of the main building, the amount of water that's collected, to servicing any of the equipment, anything that's related to running that part of the business. Whereas I handle all of the events and functions and management of the staff.
I spend the money and she makes the money. That's how it comes down to.
Is that how it works?
Well, without that, you're not going to have this. So,
Yeah. Supper in the Orchard program was created with us in 2017. We originally had a chef who was renting our space to do a program to offer suppers to some of her friends and family. That chef left to go run a food truck in Regina, but people were still clamoring to come out and enjoy the experience. And so Dean and I partnered with the Chef Association out of Regina to create the Supper in the Orchard program. Every weekend we will have a different chef coming and doing a different menu, which offers people a wide variety of different chefs that they can come multiple times and have different experiences each time. Supper starts at 5:30 with a happy hour and drinks out on our patio. People enjoy an hour of just walking around, viewing things. And then they come in at 6:30 and we start our supper program. Our chefs will come out and do an introduction, tell people what restaurant they're from, where they got their local ingredients, what's special about their menu. It allows the chef to be the star of the show, whereas in a lot of their restaurants, they're behind the scenes. Halfway through the supper program, Dean will come through and offer people an orchard walking tour. This is really an essential add-on that shows the history of the orchard over the 25 years, explains the adaptations, changes, the things that have had to be modified in order to grow really unique and different fruits. Usually supper finishes around 9 p.m. with a beautiful view of the sun setting over the valley. Chef Giselle Heisek is one of our favorite chefs. She has been coming out to do the Supper in the Orchard program pretty much from the inception.
Hi, I'm Giselle Heisek. I am a private chef and I work in Regina, Saskatchewan. I do dinners for groups of 8 to 24, 3, 4, and 5-course menu options usually in their home. And then I also teach culinary arts part-time at Sask Polytech. My style of cooking, I would say, is classically French trained, but I always try to take a nostalgic feel from dishes that I grew up with. So things that my grandmothers and my mom made. The dinners that I do for my private events are really about bringing people together and sharing in an experience and indulging. If it sparks a bit of a memory of something from your childhood, then I know that I have achieved my goals. Dean and Sylvia are so amazing and easy to work with, and all of their staff are so great too. So they just make it so easy for us to come out there. Chefs just get to do what we love to do, which is cook. All I have to do is plan a great menu and cook the menu when I get there. So that's been a really great experience working with them. They also have the wonderful option to have a wine pairing, so you get to experience more wines. You can of course just get a glass, but it really elevates the whole dining experience to get the wine pairing where Dean has hand selected each wine to go perfectly with the dishes that I've created.
Hello there.
Hey Dean, have you had a chance to look at the menu?
Yeah, looks great.
Awesome.
Got a lot of ideas that we can try with your menu, so I think it'll be really good.
Yeah, so for the first course, I've got a smoked trout mustard chowder. So
Yeah.
what do you recommend for that?
Probably the Sauvignon Blanc would be the best because it's got kind of a little bit of herbal kind of flavors to it, and it's crisp. It's a little bit acidic, and that should cut through the rich creaminess of that. Yeah, so I think that would be perfect.
I've got some dill in that soup
Yeah,
too. So
that'll work even better.
Oh yeah, I think that'll be really good with it.
Yeah, I think
delicious.
I think it'll match up really nice.
Yeah, I think it's really crisp and just the right amount of acidity to kind of balance out the creamy, rich, fatty trout
I think so
in
too,
that
yeah.
soup. So I think that'll be really good.
Cool.
Awesome. Okay, so the second course, I'm not sure what you suggest pairing with it. It's a mama ganoush, so it's like a zucchini dip kind of with some zucchini ribbons and a honey mustard vinaigrette. Yeah. So
we have a Pinot Grigio that would really work. It's a crisp wine, it's a dry wine, so I think that would pair very nicely with that too. So if you want to give that a try.
Is that this one?
That's that one, yeah.
Okay.
A little more golden in color there.
Delicious.
Yeah, so nice and crisp, that'll work really well.
That'll be really good.
Yeah.
I've got a little bit of like toasted sesame in there too, and I think that that'll pair really nicely in this.
That's great.
Main course, so yeah, I've got this pistachio crusted pork tenderloin, and I'm serving it with some roasted root vegetables and a potato puree. And then I wanted to use one of your wines in the sauce. I'm doing like a blackberry red wine reduction.
Cool. Okay.
So the cherry pinot is my favorite out here.
Yep.
Do you think that would be good with this?
Yeah, that would work great. The cherry Pinot Noir, you know, is very fruity, so it's a blackberry kind of cherry flavor to it. So I think that would work really well.
Yeah, I think that I mean white would be good with this too, but I love the cherry pinot. I think that that's a really good way to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my favorite for a reason.
Cool.
Yeah, that will be great.
Yeah.
And then my dessert is a sour cream cake, my grandma's recipe, and then I'm pairing it with a sauce that I made with berries from the orchard. Cool. So I've got a variety of Saskatoons, cherries, blueberries, and strawberries. Mm-hmm. And then I've got like a whipped cheesecake kind of topping on it. So I'm sure you've got something with berries that we can pair.
Yeah, there's a few that, you know, we could have used the prairie rhubarberry, but I think I'd like to use the strawberry Zinfandel. Strawberry flavor, it's kind of intense, and it's a sweeter wine, which you want for the dessert. So I think it would work really, really nice with that. So yeah,
what a beautiful color it is too.
It's kind of like a bronzy.
So this is the strawberry Zinfandel.
Strawberry Zinfandel, yeah. It's not overly sweet, but it's a nice.
It's not too sweet.
Yeah.
I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, it sounds really good.
Yeah, it should be great.
I think we can pull it off.
I think so. Hope so. Cool.
Okay,
awesome.
Great.
For supper service this week, one of my dishes is going to be a pistachio crusted pork tenderloin. All the dinners at Over the Hill Orchard are 4 courses, and this is my 3rd main course that I'll be serving today. I'm using some mustards from Gravelberg Mustard, and of course I'm using wine from Over the Hill Orchard. My favorite is the cherry pinot, so I've decided to use that in a blackberry sauce to go along with the pork. First thing we're gonna do is clean our pork tenderloin. So I have this beautiful, nice tenderloin here, and I've dried it off. So there's always a little bit of silver skin on a pork tenderloin. You don't have to take all of this off, but I usually like to clean it up a little bit before seasoning it. And I'm just using my fillet knife here. Careful to not cut too much of the pork off, and just gently take that silver skin off the top. So now we're gonna season it up. And I've made a rosemary bay leaf salt with herbs from my garden. This just kind of, I use this salt as a cure sometimes, but this just makes sure we pack a lot of flavor into this pork tenderloin. So I'm just gonna season the top of the pork with this. And I have some fresh cracked pepper here, has to be fresh. Okay, so now that the pork tenderloin has salt and pepper on it, I'm gonna add this mustard marinade that I've made, and I've used Gravelberg French mustard, as well as tons of rosemary, a little bit of maple syrup, and some soy sauce. So I'm not gonna add a lot, just a little bit to coat the pork. I don't want it swimming, just gently marinated, because now we're gonna wrap it so that it forms into a cylindrical shape, and this allows for really even cooking. So when you're rolling it, you wanna roll it quite tight, and then squish it in on both sides. This may seem strange, but it allows the pork to cook evenly, and you end up with uniform shapes when you're cutting, which is super important when you're plating 50 plates a night. So once you've got it all wrapped up, I'm gonna put it in the fridge to marinate for a day and chill, and then I'll put it in a water bath with an immersion circulator and cook it to a perfect 135 degrees. Okay, so this pork tenderloin has been chilling in the fridge and marinating for 24 hours. So now we're gonna sear it, just using a little bit of canola oil. Okay, this is nice and seared now, so I'm just gonna transfer it into this pan. A little piece of rosemary to hang out with. I'm gonna pop this in the oven for a few minutes while we get the pan sauce and the rest of the accompaniments for the dish.
It's challenging to grow in Saskatchewan for obvious reasons. There aren't a lot of orchards here because of the -40 winters, the winds, the hail, the frost, all these different things. It is challenging, but the quality of fruit that we grow in Saskatchewan is just amazing. It's just perseverance. What we do is difficult, so we have to come up with new strategies, but due to a lot of different factors, Mother Nature or the business world, it took a long, long time, and there was a lot of hard years. Our biggest issue that we're facing is the 8-year drought that we've been experiencing. So without water, the trees aren't healthy, and when the trees aren't healthy, then they do not survive the winters. So what I'm doing now to overcome that problem is I'm basically becoming a rainwater farmer. So this spring I collected 60,000 liters of water from a dugout, and I've been using that water all summer long to help my trees. We have automatic watering systems where I just basically turn on one valve and about 3,000 plants get watered automatically, so it's really cool. It's something my dad and I came up with using float valves and wicking from the bottom, so it's really cool to be able to just turn on one valve and to walk away and come back in 2 hours and everything's all watered. So water is key. The second thing is keeping the rabbits and mice and deer and porcupine and raccoons and cattle and gophers and snowmobilers off of my trees, because when they get damaged by those varmints, then it just sets the trees back.
Dean does 90% of the pest control in our orchard.
Well, our pest control is the cats.
And
the
then,
mice.
yes.
So we have 7 adults and we have kittens every year, and usually I see a cat bring back a mouse every second day or a gopher and all that. It keeps the mice away from doing damage because a mouse over the winter can do what's called girdling a tree. It can chew the bark around the trunk of a tree
If they chew completely around the stem, everything above will die because the sap cannot get from the roots to the branches up here.
You could have a 10-foot tree that's 10 years old and it can die just because a mouse was there and got hungry. So the cats do a wonderful job in reducing that damage. So, and they're cute, and some people just come for the cats. So, you know, again, we're pivoting. You know, people like cats. It's like, okay, let's have cats. So these things you got to do as a business.
Birds can cause a lot of fruit damage, so this machine here is what we use to take care of the birds. So cedar waxwings and robins are our main thieves. So this microchip here is the recorded bird calls of cedar waxwings and robins, but they're not happy. They're sad birds, they're scared birds, so when the real robins hear this over the speakers to run away, danger, in their own language of Robinese, then they don't feel safe and secure, and when they're not safe and secure, then they don't eat. So I'll let you listen to it. Quite beautiful. Imagine you've caught a robin and you're just twisting its neck. That's what it sounds like to me. I'm not saying do it.
So now I'm gonna use the same pan that I seared the pork in. And it's still nice and hot, but I'm gonna add a little bit of butter and a little bit of red onion. Just gonna saute those onions till they become a little bit transparent. And this is the pan sauce that is gonna go with that delicious pistachio crust pork tenderloin. So now that the onions are cooked a little bit, I'm gonna add some macerated blackberries. Macerated just means I've kind of mashed them up. There's a little bit of sugar in there. And then my favorite wine is the cherry pinot out here. So I've decided to use that in my sauce so that I can have a glass while I'm cooking. So we're gonna add about a half a cup of that cherry pinot and let it reduce a little bit. I'm gonna add a pinch of pepper, pinch of that rosemary salt, and then we're just gonna let that wine cook down a little bit. And then I've made a demi-glaze, which is just a beef stock that I've reduced quite a bit. I'm just gonna add a little bit of that. And that kind of brings this sauce together. So it's not sweet, it's not savory, but it's kind of somewhere in between. And once it kind of holds together, I don't want it reducing too much to be too thick. Then our sauce is done and we can heat up our potato puree, and I've roasted some beets and carrots to go along with this meal as well. Okay, the pork's done. It's been cooking in the oven for about 11 to 12 minutes. Put this in there. So we're gonna let the pork rest for a bit. Anytime you cook meat, you should always let it rest for about half the amount of time that you cooked it for. So we're gonna take that same mustard that we marinated the pork with, just brush a bit on top. And this is gonna act kind of as like a glue for the pistachios. So now I'm gonna put those all on top and kind of press it in. Now we can let that rest for a couple minutes. So we've got these yummy mashed potatoes. I'm just gonna put a nice big spoonful right in the middle. And then I'm gonna use the back of the spoon to create a bit of a well. And then we're gonna take some of these delicious vegetables. These vegetables, you can tell they're fresh. So now that it's rested for a bit, I'm gonna cut this end piece off. That's always for the chef to snack on. And you can see how perfectly it's cooked. A little bit pink. Cut that nice big piece, put it in the center. Okay, now we'll take our delicious pan sauce. I'm gonna put just a bit kind of around the plate. I don't want to cover up all those beautiful pistachios, so I'm just going to put it down the side.
And there we have pistachio crusted pork tenderloin with palm puree and roasted root vegetables. Hello.
Hello.
Got your pistachio crusted pork tenderloin with some roasted garlic mashed potatoes and some seasonal root vegetables. Enjoy.
Delicious. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So you can feel the mustard in the glaze.
This is really, really good. Hello.
Será la mamá.
No sé. Oh, sí. You spoil. The meal that we ate today, the main course was pork loin with a crust of pistachio and mustard. And the texture of the pork was perfect. The color was beautiful. The crust was exquisite. The mustard was not overpowering.
I agree with you. The pork was gorgeous.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the caramelized beets and carrots were perfect, combined really well with the pork. Dean and Sylvia are wonderful people, and I love that they have this ideal of having this project. I think it's very beautiful.
Well, we are educators, and we can identify a good teacher when we see one. And Dean is so funny. He gave us this tour of the orchard, explaining the experimental development of fruits, trying to get them to be both hearty and delicious.
They make it practical.
Like it becomes real.
It becomes real. And for that, you require a lot of courage. I think they're very courageous and very resilient.
Dean and Sylvia are every bit as resilient as the plants they grow.
I think so too. So we do want to come back. This is our second time, and for sure there will be a third and a fourth and many other times. So yes, we're coming back.
I think the biggest rewards for us are the people who come out and really appreciate what we've done, who really appreciate our story and can really connect to the passion and to the dedication. Those customers are really special to us.
When people go on the tour, sometimes they take me aside and they go, "Thank you very much for doing what you're doing." Even though I'm not into growing or anything, but what you're doing, seeing that kind of passion is very inspiring. And we've had people that have said, "I quit my IT job because of you," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry about that." But then they pursued their passion. To see the sacrifices that people make and to see them survive through a lot of hardship can create, a lot of inspiration for other people. So when people say, "Thank you for doing what you're doing," it's quite humbling. And to be able to create fruit that people are enjoying, not only that we grow, but that I breed, to have people's eyes roll back because it's so good. That gives me like goosebumps, because as a fruit breeder, when I'm long and gone, other people can take what I've created and continue to improve it, just like I've done with people before me. So that's really inspiring.
What's next?
Well, I don't know. I want to get my orchard back to where it should be, where the trees are, 7, 8 feet tall, where they should be instead of 2 feet tall. And so my goal is to create a orchard that looks like an orchard. With all the things that I'm doing, hopefully we'll be able to get back to that point.
We invite everybody to come down to visit us at Over the Hill Orchards. We are open Wednesday through to Sunday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Our staff is very excited to see you come through the doors. We'd love to invite you to one of our amazing experiences, and we're so excited to see you this season.
there a restaurant or beverage producer you'd like to see featured on MaxTV Local? Let us know at SaskTel.com/local.